Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to PCA's Facebook Live session for Tuesday, 26th of May. I'm Greg Vickers. I'm PCA's Director of Retailer Membership. And today we're going to talk about our insurance partner, Cigar Insurance USA. As a little background, when I started working here at the beginning of 2016, during that year, my boss at the time, Mark Purcell, and I and one other staff member got 11 or 12 calls from our retailer members saying their insurance had been pulled. They'd never made a claim. They had no negative loss history of any kind. And a couple of companies, Hartford was one of them, Liberty Mutual in a couple states, but not all, just decided they didn't want anything to do with the tobacco business. And all of a sudden, our members were increasingly in number, and this went on through 27 and into 2017 and into 18. We're just losing their insurance provider for no fault of their own. So it was very fortuitous in 2017. Alex Finkelman with an insurance agency in Rhode Island reached out to us, and he and his partner Scott Haney had written programs for a couple other nonprofits. One was called Storage Insurance USA for a mini storage association, and there's a couple others. I'm sure Alex will tell us about them. But they had found out that they had an avenue to sell policy and create a proper affinity program, which means for all of the members of ours that they insure, there's a small royalty out of the payments that come back to PCA, which we like to say to our members, do business with companies that support the association and help people that help us. But, of course, the end was they were going to specialize in the tobacco business and give our members better value, better rates, better deals, and really tailor their insurance to their needs, because our stores are pretty diverse. And, long story short, in the 2.25 years they've been an official partner of ours, they've insured a lot of our members, and every one of them I've spoken with said they saved money and they found out that they were now covered for things they didn't think they needed to be, but probably should be, and that there were things that their previous underwriter was insisting they have policies for that just weren't necessary. So the value of having an insurance provider who really knows the business was significant. So that said, I'm going to bring in Alex Finkelman from Cigar Insurance USA. They've branded a couple of other programs for other associations, and I can't tell you how thankful I am to you and Scott. I'm sorry Mr. Haney can't be here, but you guys have really been a good partner, and your promise to get involved, get to know the business, been to both of our last 2 trade shows as an exhibitor, and it's been, from our perspective, it's been a really good partnership, because everybody swears by your responsiveness, and like I said, they're all telling me they're saving money and they're happy with the coverage. So tell me a little bit about your agency. Maybe give a couple thoughts on approximate numbers of our retailer members you've written policies for, how many individual locations, just rough numbers.
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. But we found it's been a great partnership. The PCA, formerly the IPCPR, and our agency. It's been a nice community to be a part of. It's been not only exciting but enjoyable to be at the trade shows over the last couple of years. So of course we're disappointed about the upcoming year. The agency started back when Scott and I, this program in particular started when we saw a real need in the tobacco industry. We had cigar bars and lounges on a local level that we were insuring. And we realized the challenge that it was to get insurance. of course, as you mentioned, Hartford used to be a big player in the space. Liberty Mutual used to be a big player in the space. And what I've heard from both those carriers is they decided not to insure the tobacco space, not for losses or claims, but they viewed it as a moral hazard.
It's very similar to when CVS decided to stop selling cigarettes, and
Exactly.
FedEx, as we on the business all know, stopped shipping tobacco products. It was just their business decision. It's nothing we can do about it.
And that's all it was. So, it's been an evolution since we started working with the PCA, about first placing insurance with various different carriers, and we have a handful of them. When we first spoke, I gave you a list of 20 different carriers that we had vetted for the tobacco space, to make sure they were happy, because we didn't want to take on the affinity program without having an outlet for all different types of members of the association.
Well,
So, go
and
ahead.
I know that one of the things we were insisting upon in 2017 was that whoever we created an insurance partnership with had to be able to help our members with policies in all 50 states.
Mhm.
And that's why I was excited about your model, that you're not the actual underwriter. You're an agency and you work with several underwriters. So what might be the best deal in California might be different than the best deal in Virginia, than in Michigan, and on and on and on down the line. And I know I was in contact with some of your first PCA customers and all over the United States map. And I was very happy to find out that out of necessity or just design, you had used different carriers ultimately to please each of these parties. And I thought that was a better model than trying to lock in with, name one, State Farm, Liberty,
And that's how we viewed it, because we knew over time, with all 20 different carriers, some of their appetites were going to change, right? So we wanted to have the ability to move from one to the other to best suit the member's need. And we're pretty excited. Over the last couple of years, we've added about several hundred members, retail locations in the PCA. I believe that by last check, that made up 47 states, including Alaska. So we have a few more stragglers to add on to make it all 50, but we're ready to go. And there's continuing to be an evolution in how we build our program. So we have 2 new ones actually coming on over the next several weeks. One of them I'm very excited about. It's a program out of London, and they're customizing their product to have a PCA exclusive endorsement. So you cannot get what I call the bells and whistles coverage without being a member of the PCA. So I'm really excited to add that to the arsenal.
That sounds good for us, because with our affinity programs, we want to make sure that anybody that's participating is an active member. And of course, the idea with insurance, we had the same discussion with credit card processing. The idea is that you can save more than the typical $450 in dues membership. I thought it was interesting. We just got an attendee weighing in, Randy, from Puerto Rico. Could you help somebody out in Puerto Rico?
Unfortunately, we're not there yet.
Okay.
And that is, if you happen to be domiciled in the States and licensed in the States, absolutely. Puerto Rico is not one of the locations at this time.
So since you've gotten this couple years and hundreds of outlets of exposure with the premium tobacco product space, has anything dealing with our customers surprised you or struck you as, well, this is different than some of the other association type groups we've worked with?
Well, the biggest difference working with the PCA versus our self-storage program that you mentioned is the different regulations by different states.
Mhm.
right? And a lot of it comes down to the alcohol allowance by state, whether it's BYOB, whether it's you're allowed full alcohol, whether you're allowed 20% alcohol compared to tobacco sales. Every state's different, and that's probably the biggest challenge we faced, because liquor laws are different in every state.
Mhm.
Uh, and now I could reference my chart. I won't waste everyone's time, but I can go look at Alabama, for instance, has some of the strictest liquor liability laws in the country.
Mhm.
Therefore, their liquor liability insurance costs more than most other states in the country. And that always comes down to old lawsuits that came about. Rhode Island, where I'm located, is a tough liquor liability state. Um, that's been the biggest factor about moving from one carrier to the other, um, from a general liability standpoint. Now, of course, we then go down to Florida and you have wind issues on the coast,
Mhm.
right? So there's a lot of insurance carriers who are happy to insure cigar retailers, tobacco retailers, but they can't handle the wind exposure on the coast of Florida.
Mhm.
Same just on the other side of the country when we look at California and the wildfires.
Mhm.
I'm excited about the new outlet that's coming on probably in the next couple weeks. Um, and we've taken a long time to build a pricing model that people are going to be able to turn around, call me up, and say, "This is where I am. This is what I have," and with a snap of a finger, I'll be able to give you a price over the phone,
Mhm.
and we'll be able to insure the property coverage as well as the liability across the country in a very expeditious way. So I'm excited about that.
Well, and I know just from 4+ years of watching that uh, in some states you just will never see premium cigars and alcohol sales co-located. In
That's
in
right.
in and For those who don't know, retailer membership for PCA is basically restricted only by you are buying premium cigars and pipe products wholesale and selling them retail in a licensed retail outlet. So it is the brick and mortar tobacco sales association, if you will. But while the majority of our members are operating what you and I would call a traditional tobacconist shop, it includes liquor stores. It includes um, lounges where alcohol sales are probably the first line of business, and all kinds of other shops, convenience stores. There have been golf and hunting and fishing outlets. I've been in a couple of stores like that have a pretty nice humidor, and if you're selling premium cigars, you're eligible for membership. So you've probably encountered that too, that you've got like a call from somebody who says, I'm a PCA member, but
Absolutely.
I'm really running a barber shop. We sell cigars.
Yeah.
It could be that diverse.
And we've seen it all. And it's been an interesting dichotomy, if you will, to look at the different types of establishments. And if I had to guess, for whatever reason, a big portion of them, despite on a countrywide basis not allowing alcohol and tobacco in the same facility, I'd say a slight majority of them that we work with already serve alcohol. So I
Mm-hmm.
found that to be an interesting um, dynamic of the calls and emails and inquiries we receive.
Well, we certainly noticed that in some locales, if you can get a permit to serve alcohol and sell cigars, you've got one of the prime locations in your
Mhm.
town, because not all some of these are grandfathered in, that were they used to sell cigars and beer in the old days and they still can. So it is so variable from state to state. I live in DC now, but I grew up in Virginia. In Virginia, you can open a cigar store, but you can't put alcohol with it, and that's been a source of frustration for a lot of members who would like to be able to do both. So you mentioned the Self-Storage Association, and when we were kind of vetting Cigar Insurance USA, and thank you for naming the division that, I noticed the other was Storage Insurance USA. What other industries have you worked with in these tailored programs?
So we have, I think, up to 5 now. So we have Roofing Insurance USA for the commercial roofers across the country. We have a couple small ones, Dog Insurance USA and Cat Insurance USA for some real small stuff. The newest, we have Trucker Insurance USA for the truckers, and then what's our newest one? We didn't brand it. We branded it a little differently, but it's for the home health care industry.
Okay.
That's called Home Care Insurance Brokers. Just based on the URL availability of the website.
So your agency, I see you just moved from Providence to Warwick. You've been around a long, long time, haven't you?
We sure have. My great grandfather was an insurance broker, and so my grandfather physically started the agency. One of my favorite things, actually, if you look above my shoulder here, you'll see a policy my great grandfather wrote during Prohibition. For it is cases of whiskey and cases of rye. And it's about $5,000 of coverage, and it costs $295 during Prohibition. So it's been in my blood for a long time, and I've been at it since I was a small child. I have degrees in macro level insurance from the University of Hartford, the insurance capital of the world. So myself, along with Scott, who's got a tremendous history in insurance and tremendous knowledge, who brings a lot to the table. And I know a lot of members have talked to him and appreciated his expertise. It's been a nice partnership to help grow these programs. But we're still most excited about our partnership with the PCA. We still know that there's such a need for the retailers. Most of our other programs, a local agent has the tools in the tool belt to insure through one way or another. We get so many calls and emails, and if anyone's ever been to our website as of late, we're constantly improving our technology. So our technology, we're in probably version 2 right now. Version 3 is coming out soon, where once you go online, you can fill out all the information and generate all the paperwork that's needed to get a quick quote that automatically comes to me and Scott, and we can turn it around. Version 3, you'll soon be able to get a quote instantly, which we're really excited about. So we continue to invest in the PCA partnership in Cigar Insurance USA because we know the need for the retailers. And that's not just retailers, that's the manufacturers as well. We already do insure a handful of manufacturers, members of the association. And that's continuing to grow, and we get questions all the time from them. We also work with the importer bonds. That's been a struggle over the last couple of years. A lot of the importers, there's been a tightening of the customs bonds market, and we've helped out a lot of the PCA members with their bonding needs as well.
Well, speaking of which, I remember talking to Scott recently, and while obviously when we started this program together, we were targeting PCA's retailer members, but I know you've had some inquiries and written some policies for associate members or distributor members or somebody for a building other than a store, mainly somebody who's warehousing cigars in some way or place. Does that ring a bell? Are you familiar with any of those?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, it's been an evolution of this product for us because of the different, again, the locales, the regulations, and the diverse membership. It really isn't just a traditional tobacconist. There is the bar, the lounge, the wholesaler the distributor, and the manufacturer that make it up. And we've developed a program to work with all of them.
Well, because some of our, I would call them convenience store type outlets, and there are pretty many within the PCA membership that, they're managing, fueling stations and petroleum products, and so you could see premium cigars in the same retail outlet as a crazy number of products. You mentioned how presence of alcohol or not is going to be a significant impact on the cost of your policy, but it's a pretty diverse. There's at least a couple shops I know that are cigar and gun stores, and I mean and like I said, there's a couple of hunting and fishing clubs which obviously are selling firearms,
and we've built the program to accept all of that. Now the biggest unknown that we see from the insurance side, that I'm sure you see, is the vapes.
Yeah.
Right, the unknown of the vapes and the health hazard from vapes, and more importantly, the claims that the insurance carriers have seen from the vapes are the exploding batteries. So we've seen a lot of these vape pens go in someone's pocket and explode.
Yeah,
I was talking to one carrier just about a week ago, who unfortunately had one where it exploded on a small child. So that's been the greatest, I'd say, one of the challenges that we faced, that we've had to adapt to, because there are a lot of PCA members who have sold vapes before, who continue to sell vapes. And the recommendation I always make sure to give is make sure you're selling something reputable, if you're selling it at all.
Yeah, I remember several years ago reading about an exploding vape pen in California that actually killed somebody, and that was when the vape industry was even more of the wild west than it is now. Anybody could make anything and sell it, and then bad stuff happens, and who's ultimately liable?
Of course.
So, yeah, you're right that, I mean, it's certainly a minority of PCA members that carry such products, but it's not our, you just write policy based on what the situation is.
That's it. And we've developed the products in a diverse enough way to handle any member at any location.
So anyway, how's the coronavirus related shutdowns? I mean, it's obviously not been good for anybody, but what would you say its effect has been on your insurance industry in general, but also on, specifically, have you gotten any recent inquiries from PCA members?
We have, and the industry, not only insurance industry, obviously the world has been hit hard by this. And what we've done, along with our insurance carrier partners, is do what we can to help as far as leniency, as far as payments, as far as adjusting policies to reduce the cost of the policy, because things have changed so drastically. And most carriers have been pretty good. Most carriers have said, hey, you don't have to pay me for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And we've worked with a lot of PCA members to make sure that they haven't had to pay a bill until they were able to pay a bill, whether it's when they got their PPP money or when they were able to start opening some curbside retail sales. So it's been an impact, and not just this program. This program was hit hard, right? The retail establishments were hit hard. Self-storage, our program wasn't affected so much. Our roofing, a lot of roofers were shut down for a while. So it's been hit or miss, and it's been a real challenge. But the insurance company as a whole has tried to band together. Now, the insurance company, on larger, on a macro level, will take a big loss. And unfortunately, for most of the retailers and most of the other industries, COVID wasn't covered under a standard policy for being shut down for governmental regulations. It's just not something that was available to be covered. Soon you will see that option available, because that's, of course, what the insurance carriers are working on now. Let's build a product so if this ever happens again, you can buy insurance. But at the same time, there were policies for, I think the big one I saw was Wimbledon, right? They paid about $30 million a year for an event cancellation policy, and they'll end up paying out $180 million to Wimbledon. And there were a host of other of those big events that were paying year in, year out, and the insurance companies will end up taking a loss on it. So it's been impactful.
When we started this program, which officially began, I believe, March of 2018, so it's been 2 years and 2 months. I had some conversations with Scott, and I said, I know nobody changes insurance carriers lightly. If it works, don't fix it. And all of a sudden we started seeing members who were found themselves in a position of need because their carrier had cut them off in many instances for no fault of the store owner, but that was going on. But I've had people tell me, I need to renew my policy in January. Maybe I'll take a look at it then. But Cigar Insurance USA has made it very easy. If you send them a policy, they'll send you back a quote and promise that they'll do the best they can with rates. I've heard some very good anecdotal evidence about savings our members have achieved to switching to Cigar Insurance USA. Do you have any favorite stories or recollections about, just kind of the neighborhood and the range of monies you have saved some of our store owners?
Oh, I would, a local one, I would tell you, couple different locations, and the savings that we're seeing, we handle a fair amount of volume every week, every month, and 9 out of 10 people end up switching to us. And the coverage improvements are almost always coupled with price savings. One example, I had a location again here, a local one in Rhode Island, paying probably about $10,000 a year, and we took that and we changed it to about $1,400 a year.
Wow!
So you're looking at an 85% savings, over $8,500 in that particular instance, and that's not a one-off thing. I did something similar in Pennsylvania. Across the country, we're seeing that same thing. It can range anywhere from 30% to 85 to 90% savings.
Well, and I anticipate that the traditional tobacconist shop is a fairly small store. It has small number of employees. I mean, a lot of them are, 2.5 employees, a couple and a part-timer. I mean, they're very small business concerns. And some of the biggies in the insurance business are saying, this is somebody I can sock it to a little bit because they're in need. And, there's companies that won't offer them a policy at all. So,
I think the biggest thing we see is why we started the program for the cigar industry is that the local agents just don't have the industry expertise to know where to go, to know what to do when someone calls and says, I'm a tobacconist. Someone says, I have a lounge, I need insurance. So they go to the surplus world and they hope that their guy has something, or whoever they reach out to, where we've already done the work. We took, before we reached out to you and were vetted by you, we took 6 months to a year to vet the insurance carriers. And I don't think it's that they want to sock it to them. I think it's the lack of knowledge, the lack of expertise, just because there's so few and far between. There's not 100 of them in every county. There's not 100 tobacconists in every city. So the local agent isn't actively, they're not spending 6 months to a year searching for the right outlet.
Mhm.
And I think that's really kind of the difference, that we're able to save so much money, is because we've just done it now time and time again.
Mhm. Well, and it is, I mean, I'm sure when an insurer who isn't familiar with the average tobacco store, they're probably thinking, um, you'd have to worry a little bit about theft. You'd have to worry about, losing your license for sale to underage people. You'd have to worry about fire to a certain degree. But I think that the vast majority of our members have just about no loss history. And, many of them have been around for a long, long time.
That
And
that's correct.
yeah,
That's very correct. The clientele that attend the members' establishments are people you want around you.
yeah.
They're not out to throw themselves on a floor and try and hurt their local tobacconist.
Mhm.
They're not the type to sit at a lounge and get in a fight.
Mhm.
Like they're not the rowdy college kids. And that's something that the insurance companies we work with view a tobacconist like a regular retail shop.
Mhm.
There's no greater exposure. There, in a lot of instances, people view them as a less of a theft exposure because it's so hard to keep your cigars properly kept. So the black market, if you will, is actually not as big as one might think.
Mhm.
Right? Everyone hears a lot of insurance carriers hear tobacco. They think, oh, cigarettes, they're coming for us.
Mhm.
Right? Someone's going to try and break in and steal all the cartons of cigarettes. Well, the majority of the members, and there's always exceptions, they're not theft targets.
No,
Um,
and they're stores that are really, for the most part, there are exceptions, but the
yes,
vast majority of our stores are only entered by adults. And
correct.
and if you're 15 and you try to walk in one, you're probably going to get grilled at the door. So uh, yeah, that's the vast majority of our tobacconists don't have that sort of issue. Of course, one of them could be a convenience store. One of them could be
Of course.
a vape shop,
Yep.
but the majority are pretty adult establishments.
So we've made sure a lot of the underwriters that we work with are actually cigar smokers who understand the industry.
So what's new? You told us a little bit about this new carrier you're working with. And I do want to reiterate that I think I said it at the very beginning when we first started talking to Alex and Scott. We asked them and we would work with them on verifying that anybody who's getting these services from Cigar Insurance USA, you have to be a PCA member to participate. And so that actually has helped us add maybe half a dozen members.
Yeah.
Most of the people that were calling you were already pretty established with us as members anyway. But it's certainly been a carrot we could dangle, because if you're saving somebody thousands of dollars a year in insurance coverage, we don't feel bad about saying, come on, your savings more than offset single store retailers $450 a year. The smallest associate member is $750 a year in dues. It's not hard for you to save one of these companies more money than their annual dues payment is, and that was certainly a nice thing for us to be able to offer. When we wanted to get into an affinity program, because we saw a need, but we're also not the experts and we're kind of lazy about it. We don't want to have to do any of the hands-on management. We want the experts with the credit card processing, with the insurance, with the suite of discounts for things like credit cards and office equipment. I mean, for rental cars and office equipment and UPS shipping. That we want our affinity partner to do the heavy lifting. First of all, because we've got other things to do, and second of all, we don't know the business. So that's been very comforting for me, because I know Scott's encountered quite a few of our members who just weren't getting treated very well by their insurance carrier, paying high rates, paying for coverage for things they didn't need coverage for, and not having coverage for certain things that might have been a legitimate worry, call it fire, flood, et cetera, depending on where they're located.
Correct. It's so the new program, what we've done is we've taken a blend of all our programs and came up with the best rating structure. So I expect pricing to be even better than it was. And I think I'd probably, if I had to guess, I'd say it's probably closer to 20 or so stores that we've asked to join the PCA to come insure with us. Because our presence on Google is very high, right? If you were to Google cigar bar insurance, cigar lounge insurance, tobacconist insurance, you would find us at the top of Google. So we are seeing a lot of non-PCA members join the PCA. So, and I'm proud of that.
Did you have to do anything for that search engine optimization, or did you just rise to the top naturally?
It was natural. No? It was natural. We had a marketing person in charge of it, but there's no Google pay-per-clicks. There's none of that, and a lot of that's attributed to the open space, the need for an insurance program for the tobacconist, and that's the biggest thing. I could pay millions of dollars to get to the top of carinsurance.com. It wouldn't get me to the top of Google, because everyone wants to insure your car. Right, Liberty Mutual, Geico, Progressive, you name it. But not everyone wants to insure a tobacconist, and that's why we continue to be extremely excited about what we've built, what we're building, evolution number 3, and so on.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to publicize it to our members. For any members that are watching the recorded Facebook Live session after the fact, we do have Cigar Insurance USA featured on our website, but it would help if you know where to look at it. If you go across our top menu ribbon at premiumcigars.org, you'll see a tab that says membership. Under membership, you'll see retailer membership in addition to associate for our exhibit. If you click that retailer membership button, scroll down a little bit, you'll see our affinity programs, and you can click on the Cigar Insurance USA icon. But Alex and Scott have made it pretty easy. If you send them a policy and an inquiry, they'll get an analysis back to you very quickly, and you can get a discussion going about what you're covered for and what you should be covered for. And they have made it pretty easy. We do some cross-promotional stuff. We'll share a member's email list with Cigar Insurance USA, and they get to announce things directly. And then a couple times a year, we'll send out either a mailer or a broadcast email whenever somebody develops a new program, a new product. We'll certainly try to give them publicity. For any of you that are looking, and I'm going to do some Q&A any second now, but okay, so now we've Aaron, our communications and marketing manager, is telling me under the main membership tab on premiumcigars.org, you don't need to even go to the retailer side. But anyway, if you click the membership tab, you'll find Cigar Insurance USA. And if you have any trouble, I am Greg, Greg, at premiumcigars.org. I'm giving out referrals to Scott and Alex often, so just send me a note. Alex and Scott both have S. Haney at cigarinsurance.com, cigarinsurance.usa.com, and A. Finkelman at cigarinsurance.usa.com. But it's probably easier if you just go to our website and look them up. I've got Chris in California saying he owns a lounge and is looking for insurance. Chris, right after this call, I'm going to send you and Alex an email so you can get together and talk about that. So yeah, you've written a few California policies that I'm aware of. I think one of your first PCA customers was in San Diego.
The very first, you're absolutely right. He has 2 locations, one in Del Mar, one in San Diego. Absolutely.
Good. Well, and like I said, it was really, really important to us getting underway that, there are carriers out there and insurance providers out there. Well, we're in 41 states. It's like, no, that's not going to work. You've got to be able to help our members all over the United States, or we'll just get too much grief about it. We want to be full service.
I'm still waiting for someone to call me from Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah, I want an excuse to visit. I went there in 2007. I'd love to go again. I've got another inquiry. Do you guys offer insurance to premium cigar distributors? And
absolutely.
This one is in Florida based. And I know Scott, Alex's partner, who's not on this call, one of his, somewhere in the first couple months, he got a policy writing opportunity for a distributor. And this is somebody that isn't selling cigars out of a retail storefront. They were warehousing a modest amount of cigars and also covering issues with the transportation, right, Alex?
You're exactly correct.
Yeah. So, yeah, Gabby, those are out there, and send me an email. I'll forward you contact information for Alex. And once again, if you're an active member of PCA, it doesn't matter what member type. I mean, we have the vast majority of our members, it's usually right around 1,000 each year. It's usually, last year was in the 970s, and those are the owners of 2,900 stores. So there's a lot of multi-store operators included there. So, and then the next biggest in number after retailer is the associates, the exhibitors at our show. But we have supplier, distributor, broker, and media members beyond that. And, brokers and media probably aren't going to be much in the way of insurance needs, but the distributors and the suppliers are certainly, doing something with their premium tobacco products in a building somewhere that they have insurance needs as well.
The manufacturers as well. You have a handful of manufacturers as well who have come on into the program.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me see who else I've got here. A couple other people, and anyway, anybody who's logged in here, I'll send them an email and thank them for attending, and make sure that they have Cigar Insurance USA's contact information. Going back to the whole COVID-19 shutdown, you just mentioned that, because a pandemic is pretty new in the eyes of most of us, thank goodness. What do you see as in changing insurance needs caused by the pandemic in the future? What kind of insurance policies are you going to be writing 5 years from now that you haven't done before?
Yeah, I think I referenced it earlier. They're already working on coverage if you are shut down from a pandemic. In everyone's policy throughout the country, not just the cigar industry, but almost every policy other than event cancellation policies, there's a virus exclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And you've never had the ability to buy that off the policy. They're already working on it. They're working on the state-by-state filings. And I would have to guess within 6 months to a year, you will be able to buy insurance for a pandemic. That's the biggest change. Right now, there are some barriers to buying insurance, actually, if you don't have any prior insurance. So we've worked our way through that. That's starting to ease. I'm hoping over the next couple weeks it'll fully go away. But that, I think you will see from as an option on all policies for all industries over the next several months.
Yeah, and I think, the restaurant entertainment venue, certainly retail. Just been devastated by the pandemic, and these are industries that have a lot of employees that oftentimes young, oftentimes living paycheck to paycheck, don't have much in the way of savings. It's the people that have been hurt the most are working for a lot of the establishments we're talking about. So,
Yeah, our local or our regional partner, the Aegis Group,
mhm,
which is a regional agency, which sometimes you'll see, some people may see an email from alex@aegisgroup.com. That's me.
mhm,
We insure a lot of restaurants regionally,
mhm.
and I can't tell you how many have already gone out of business, who've just shut their doors and not opened up again. And they didn't have the option to buy coverage for pandemic insurance.
Mhm.
And if I had to guess, most people aren't going to say no moving forward.
No, well, the last noteworthy one was in 1918. So it's not surprising that people kind of lost that off their radar, but it's never going to be that way again. So,
You sure are right.
mhm. All right. Well, I don't have too much more. I really appreciate you spending this time with us, Alex. I'm scrolling down to see if I have any more. Uh, okay, let me make sure I get all these names saved. Michael, I see you. Gabby, other Michael, East Coast. Randy, I'm going to send you all an email just thanking you and making sure you know how to reach out to Alex and his partner. And sorry Scott couldn't join us because he is fun to talk to. He had some insurance adventures in major Northeast cities, not 20 years ago, that I just love talking with him about. So
Thank you for having me.
thank you so much, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon.
All right.